Welcome to Nintendo Voice, your voice for everything Nintendo. This is episode 102, recorded on the 16th of August 2017. My name's Lewis Pugh, and joining me to talk Nintendo, we have Harrison Milfeld.
Glad to be back this week, everybody.
And it's just the two of us this week.
Yeah.
Colin, he is busy at work. Or he was before the show, and very early tomorrow morning, so he couldn't make it onto the show. However, he will be back next week. And before we jump into our features, we do have a small update, at least in terms of our super topic. And so the results are in. You have voted, and we were actually all prepped for one of the topics, and the other one took the lead at the last moment.
Yeah. I was ready. I mean, as you can see, you can't see in the audio form, but as you can see, I have my beard ready, and I was all done. I'm ready to shave basically portion the majority of this off, except for here. But yeah, it just seemed like voting had to, change the outcome of this. So
okay, so yeah, on last week's show, we did say the two topics which are up for voting was the WoW Championships, which sounds very interesting. We will do it on a future episode, but it lost by a single point to the Dream Game topic. So later on, me and Harrison are going to be first discussing over the best combination of what sort of genre, what sort of game matched up with what developer we would like to see, and then ultimately we need to decide on which of those ideas is best ultimately overall. And in terms of the WoW Championships, it's a very cool idea, and it only lost out by a single point. So what we're going to do is we will do that feature next time all three of us are around. And the good thing about that is it does give us a little bit of lead time, which that topic kind of does lean towards.
Yeah.
So that will be good. We'll be able to do that at its kind of fullest as well. So it's kind of a win-win, really. Although the Dream Game did technically win, it did officially win, and that's why we're doing that first. And so we do kind of have a normal structure to the show. We're going to start with what we've been playing. We do have our Nintendo news, and then we're going to finish on that super topic of our Dream Game. So before we do begin, I just want to say thank you very much for those who have not only supported us on Patreon, but have been interacting with us, have been voting on these questions, have been offering up super topics as well. Please do continue to do so. We don't actually have any super topics in the bank yet. So if you're already supporting us, please do chuck us some suggestions, and everyone else can vote on them in the future. And if you've not joined, why not? We still have the competition going. The Super Nintendo Mini is up for grabs. There is, I believe, 14 people on the Patreon so far. So it's pretty good odds. If you join us for $1 a month, you're in a pretty good chance to win that Super Nintendo Mini. So do check us out. It's patreon.com/Nintendo Voice. And with that said and done, let's move on to the show.
Yes.
And so, Harrison, I believe you've been playing the same game as I have, and you finally completed it, like myself, Splatoon 2. What are our thoughts, at least in terms of the single player, having now seen the credits?
Much improved in terms of length and what you can actually do with each levels, but yes, the overall experience that I had with Splatoon 2 single player mode has been a positive one. And even if I found the first one and the first Splatoon to be almost a bit of a throwaway, but its saving grace was, even though it was its boss battles, to me that was what it was to be worthwhile to it. But if I had to say one little negative to it, though, is I didn't really find the final boss battle to be that challenging to me. Or even that, I mean, I felt like the last four, I mean, I'm not sure if anybody hasn't really beat the Splatoon 2 single player mode right now, what I'd say for the next 5-10 minutes or so, this is going to be a pretty spoiler heavy discussion.
Okay, but yeah, in the sense that without being too spoilery, I don't think it's a game which has a huge amount of surprises in it.
Well,
Like,
yeah,
if you were to take a guess what the final boss was going to be and any twist it might have, you'd probably be dead on.
pretty
But with
much.
that said and done, let us talk about it.
Well, I mean, although I did it for anybody who plays it, whatever. Obviously, it's Callie at the end who's mind controlled, and then you have DJ Octavio again, the DJ spinning Octarian. And I was expecting someone different for this one. I figured, like, okay, we've had these different variations of bosses. I figured there's a new big bad in this, and that was not the case. And I think going off of it, whatever, I mean, I felt like that was a nice thing that music definitely played a part of this. Not in terms of, like, oh, you have to sense a beat to whatever to beat the boss, but like this Splatoon, I feel like music is such a big part of this whole series. Not only in even its cultural aesthetics and styles, that it reaps heavy from Japanese culture. And especially for this one, though, I don't know. Again, it does show off how this is a better looking game than its predecessor. I could say it. I'm not saying it's out of the world like, oh, this is a beautiful looking game, but you definitely can see the differences between this and the first Splatoon, especially even like the boss battles and what everything looks to it. So, but other than that, nothing really to write home about, whatever. But still, a fun single player experience to me, whatever. I mean, I did notice that if you play the boss battle a second time, like the bits of the dialogue are changed, or whatever. It's pretty fun. It's pretty humorous when you look at whatever, because it's meta humor almost at the whole like replaying the boss again. So try that out, whatever you get the chance. It's pretty funny. But
yeah, I will check that out, because I did play the final boss on the first game quite a few times, and I don't believe anything changed there. So I will be returning to this. Very interesting it does alter, even if it is very slightly.
The battle's the same. It's a dialogue that's different. So you'll see on that.
Even just that little detail, that's pretty cool. The thing which kind of caught me off guard a bit was because the end world bosses from the first game were quite similar to the ones in the second, in terms of you have like a circular arena, and you have your boss. But for the final boss in the first game, they made it into its own stage as such, which wasn't the case for the final boss in the second game. It was also in this circular arena, and that did take me off guard. And it does change things up a little bit as the battle continues, but it's definitely not its own like dedicated stage to it. It still feels like an arena. But I do like how it did evolve that fight towards the end. And a lot of it's just kind of the visual flair. Like, it's not necessarily any extra challenging, if anything else. It's just more so just kind of leaning back and like just soaking it all in, everything that's going on. But it does do that particularly well. And it's a nice kind of just wrap up to the single player mode, really. And I really did enjoy it. It was nice, and I mentioned this previously when I was talking about Splatoon 2. I've enjoyed jumping between the different modes. So I've never spent like a huge amount of time consecutively in one player. I'd play a little bit, then I'd jump back into multiplayer, and then just trying to jump around all the different modes. And I feel doing it that way, like, nothing outstays its welcome. Whereas I did find when I first played through the single player on the original game, especially because at that point, because that was fairly close to launch as well, the game hadn't been that fleshed out, and so there wasn't that many different, there wasn't as large a variety of different things or different arenas and weapons and modes and all the other bits. And so it does have quite a different feeling to the second game. And the thing I did want to also mention about the final boss, without going into too much detail, is you mentioned the difficulty. The first time I tried it, I got absolutely destroyed, and that's peculiar.
I'll tell you what, I actually know where this is going to, because I believe you only go in there with one weapon, and that's the hero splat, or whatever the heck, what's it called? The splat hero?
I think it's what the hero splatter shot.
There we go, hero splat. I was getting the words mixed up there, but I never upgraded any of my weapons throughout the entire campaign up to there.
Yeah, same.
And obviously, when your first mode of this boss battle is, obviously, if you remember from the first game, DJ Octavia's a little floating DJ ship, whatever, has like these two mechanical fists, and of course, what's a Nintendo boss battle without giant fists and a face? So, I mean, but
it is true. Yes.
No. Seriously, that is like, name me. Okay, try the most common thing you can probably think about that. And I know we like to joke about that. I was using that gun, and obviously, it was not up to max efficiency. So I definitely got killed. It was getting really, really difficult for me to actually, hit the fists and, have them retract back and hit him. So I went back and maxed it out, and yeah, that was the end of that. That was my experience. I only died that time because I was getting kicked because I was not at full power. So, but
yeah,
that was me. That was me for it. So.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same experience for me. So if you've not finished the game yet, I would recommend do check out the upgrade shack at the beginning. You probably have enough currency to upgrade your weapons. You might as well do so. Also, yeah, if you're using that splatter shot a fair bit, the upgrades are significant. I kind of wish I upgraded it earlier when I had, when I had the chance, but either didn't realize or just couldn't be bothered to. It's more fun when it's got that increased firepower and increased rate of fire. It's just a much more fun weapon to use. So if you're still playing through, do check out that upgrade shop. But yeah, Splatoon 2 has continued to be fun.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to playing just more of the online and trying to get up on the ranks.
That's my next chain of attack on there, and I actually did finally get to a point where I'm actually enjoying to fully appreciate with Salmon Run, which, for lack of a better term, it's addicting. That really gets to it. I mean, it is frustratingly annoying that you can only access it certain times. And again, I can understand the fact that you want Nintendo to actually have these people there to actually have a full team, but I think with the community that Splatoon 2 has, I don't think that may be much of a problem. But thankfully, though, the changes that they had in this one with the previous one, I think was it now battle arenas, they change every 2 hours opposed to 4, I believe. So that at least is a welcome change to that, whatever, as far as when you get the rotation out. So, and I know people will not really enjoy seeing Pearl Marina's introductions when you go through, when you restart the game and go from the start menu to through there, and you have to hear that little spin disc, whatever, from Marina and just to each level, which I'm fine with. It's a cute little nod, like a little effect to it, but it drives some people insane when it's you're hitting the A button. I need to skip this. I need to skip this, but it's I don't mind it. But
yeah, I think the nice little touch compared to the first game is that whenever the maps would rotate on the original game, it would make you watch that again.
Oh yeah,
on this, which is nice. So you only are forced to watch it once per play session, but still once.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I Splatoon 2 just does not disappoint me for things on here. But obviously, there could be little things as far as tweaks to it, whatever. Because I mean, knowing that what we saw back from the backlash from the beta form, the early access form of the the app, although Splatnet 2, I've heard is just really superb, and as far as its design, but yeah, I mean, I just hate how that's going to linger over Splatoon 2 at some point. Not to drive it away from people from buying it, but in terms of keeping people away, it's who are newcomers to feel oh wow, this sounds like this online for this is a mess, which is not true for Splatoon. It's just voice chat in terms like that is kind of a mess. That well, not kind of, but yeah, it is a mess. It's just. I know. I'm trying to. It seems like I'm just.
So yeah, you can have fun with it, but admittedly, it is still a mess. It is what it is, and I imagine that service will improve over time. We shall see. Just checked on my Switch. I've 55 hours into Splatoon 2 already, which seems quite a lot. And I imagine a big chunk of that was when I was doing that training week, and that was my only form of entertainment. It was Splatoon 2 in the evenings on a dodgy internet connection, but it still worked.
Oh yeah. Although I did press this though. I think it was about a couple an episode or two ago, but I do wish Nintendo could probably fix some bit of the calibration of the motion controls. and this has been brought up for a bit, where people, like, for instance, who like to play the Switch in bed, you know, if you're back, like, yeah, there's a point where it's hard to recalibrate whatever when you're using motion controls while you're sleeping out of bed like that. I don't know. It just, I hope they're able to fix something like that. I mean, it's not a huge problem. I mean, it's not a pervasive problem for me because I go back and forth between motion controls and, you know, using just and more an analog. But those are one things I want to be see fixed as just little things. And thankfully, though, we have a bit of a more complete package for Splatoon out the gate more than we had with Splatoon. So, and we have more updates to come with this. So,
yeah, so it's a lot to look forward to. And so, just to check, I don't believe this is the case, but have you been playing any other Nintendo games since the last week?
I have been playing another Switch title. It's a collection. It's a Namco Museum.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, and I recently reviewed this for Pure Nintendo. Gave it a 7.5 out of 10. And if the long and short of it, whatever, it's a decent collection, and it may seem a little bit pricey at $30 in the eShop, but it is so worth it for Pac-Man Versus, the remaster version of this. And a game.
So you had a chance to check it out then with the 2 Switches.
Yeah, well, not with 2 Switches. Although you can do. Here's the thing, though. You would think, though, when you play the game like that, because, okay, for those who remember Pac-Man Versus, it was a Miyamoto, it was an in-house Nintendo developed collaboration with Namco, where with the use of the Game Boy Advance, you know, link cable to the GameCube, where you would have 3 people with like regular GameCube controllers who would play as the Pac-Man ghosts, and the person with the Game Boy Advance and the link cable connected to it would control Pac-Man, but would only see, you know, the maze in its arcade form on the Game Boy Advance screen. So basically, as the ghost, you cannot see Pac-Man where he's at, so it was your goal to actually attack Pac-Man. So to rectify, to correct this in the Switch version, though, since you have no second screen, what we have, and it almost feels like, why wasn't this? It's like, why wasn't Pac-Man Versus like re-released on the eShop for the Wii U? Yeah, that made me think, like, why wasn't that the case? But to do this, though, if it's only single player on one Switch console, it's only 3 players who can play as the ghost, and it's a computer-controlled Pac-Man, which is still fun on its own. It really is. I mean, if you get people to do on there. Okay. Now, the only way you can have someone play as Pac-Man is if you have 2 different Switch consoles. Luckily, though, you can have a free download code for an app for somebody else to, you know, download, so you don't have to have somebody else buy the game. Like you have 2 copies of the game. So that actually helps there too. And but overall, though, when we're waiting for something like a virtual console service to kind of finally rear its head back for the Switch, whether it's being rebranded, redesigned, or if it's being gone altogether, like, and I said in the review, the only thing that we've had as far as for retro titles so far right now have been just the offerings from Neo Geo. That's it. And now this is kind of like the first foray that we see something that's new onto the Switch. And like I said, like that my only problem with it is, like, you're going to see the usual classic games on here, like Pac-Man, Galaga, and of course Dig Dug. Now, new surprises that have been on here are Splatterhouse HD, which is the wonderful, wonderful arcade port of this game. Whatever. I mean, even though by its standards as far as shock, it's just quite tame today. And again, I just have to just reiterate with just Pac-Man Versus, though, is that, yeah, you can have this, and it's just, if you have people, whatever, as far as anything over, it's a great party game. And to me, that's alone worth it, and I'm glad to see something like this get a little bit released so people can try this out, because it almost seems like the Pac-Man Versus, for a great concept as it was back on the GameCube, though, nobody really much gave it a chance. And that was kind of back at that time when Game Boy connectivity just seemed a little bit more of a pricey venture to kind of get into. I mean, you had to have somebody who had a Game Boy and several other controllers, and of course a link cable. I mean, and again, I was one of those people who had all that, and it just, I never really could find people to stick around to play as much. And I'm glad that we're able to get something new out of this.
Yeah, I think partly where Pac-Man Versus may have fell down the first time, it was never, I mean, one, it was before the time of DLC, so they couldn't just sell Pac-Man Versus as a cheap game on its own. And so it was only included with, yeah, so it included other things. So I think it was included in a modern Pac-Man game, which wasn't any good. And the other way to get it was, I think there was just a bundle, like when you bought a new GameCube, where it had it on a disc on its own. But yeah, there was no like cheap way to get Pac-Man Versus. So I think that might be part of the way it fell down. It's like a nice novelty, but it's not necessarily something you want to spend full retail price for, is it?
No. Well, there's a lot to be out here, but there's one little addition that I forgot to mention for there are challenge modes for each of the games. So, for instance, like with Pac-Man, you have to eat amount of ghosts in like under a time limit. And of course, there's online leaderboards, so you can have little bits of bragging rights there. And side note, when you mentioned as far as this Pac-Man versus the original GameCube release, it was originally packaged with the Player's Choice edition of Pac-Man World 2, and as well as the GameCube versions of iNinja and Namco's R, Racing Evolution.
Okay, so there's a few different ways.
The Japanese version was originally released only for Club Nintendo members. So that's a little fun fact.
That's interesting, but yeah, that might have actually been the better delivery method. Because, yeah, I imagine with Club Nintendo, if it was just through points, as it were.
May rest in peace.
Yeah, then, that's a nice, cheap way to get it. Like, assuming you've got points, it's not actually going to cost you any money. It's a good way to get out there. So, that sounds really cool. It's a tricky one, really, because I feel if they were kind of carved up into, like, smaller, cheaper releases, I might get a couple. But I'm not sure I'm enough of a fan of like the whole collection and get them all, because that's the only way to get that.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe to get to it. I'm just saying this is a well-designed package around there, but I'd say if this was maybe $10 cheaper, I would say you just get it. It's not just Pac-Man Versus, just get it. Get it if you need your good classic Namco picks. These are well-emulated games. I mean, they did not cut corners. I mean, and I know that there may be kind of a few duds for some people, but I know these are some classics. It just there was more to give a little bit of variety, but there are some games that kind of lost my interest. And I know that some of these games may sound sacrilege to me, but given that there's some games on here that are cult classics among very retro owners, but I don't know. It's like I was wondering if like Exevious or something like that or Pole Position was not put on here.
Yeah, that does seem bizarre. So for myself, I've not really had a huge amount of time to play anything else beyond Splatoon 2. But as a little tease, it's Sonic Mania. I've yet to play. I've yet to get beyond this title screen. I have been you may have noticed, I've kind of been glancing at the nice animated intro. It will scroll between it, the hand-drawn one. There we go. Here it comes up. It looks very snazzy. But I've not got past that yet. It looks fantastic on the screen. That's all I can really comment to on the game so far.
That opening? Oh yeah, that was I really love that animation opening. Very vividly remembers not from like '90s cartoons, but just the way it's styled into it. It is reviewing.
Yeah, it's very similar to the intro for Sonic CD.
Yes. It is. Sonic Mania is reviewing.
Back in the day.
I know that. Last time I checked, it's like what is it on Metacritic right now? No, it is definitely, it's worth the hype right now to play. It's an 86 right now on Metacritic. So, and I did hear though there is a small problem with the Switch version. And
is that the home button? This one?
Yes, that is it. Is it like the home button and how you can't take screenshots? But it's.
I don't know about the screenshot thing.
I may have mixed that up, but the home it's the home thing.
Yeah, I can confirm. Even on the title screen, it is delayed. I'm not sure it's as much because I'm not sure it's the same source, but yeah, I did see a Game Explain video on it. But yeah, actually, I can demonstrate it, at least to the video audience, even on the title screen here.
That's the thing with Game Explain. I say that's the thing with Game Explain. Anything you think like, I wonder if they covered it already, and there's just like there's at least a video out or about it.
Yeah, so let me show you now for the interest on the video. So we got the title screen player here. I'm gonna obviously you'll see when I press the button. I'm gonna press it now.
Yeah.
And now it's gone to the home menu, where usually it's instantaneous.
Yeah,
I mean, it wasn't like a long time, but it was about 4 seconds or so.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not the end of the world by any means. It's more of an interesting piece of discussion than it is like
who's the guy behind it? Christian Whitehead?
Yeah, he's the main player involved.
Yes, and I think he's addressed it. They have addressed it. and they're going to look into it. So there's that. But no, that's one I really want to pick up there. And like I had said right the night before the release, this is the first time in a while that I'm legitimately excited to play a Sonic game. Like I am legit like a long, long time. So
definitely, I'm the same. And also, I was actually surprised that it's actually a cheap game. I thought it was going to be priced more similar to a regular release.
Yeah, same here.
But this is a budget title. You thought with the Sonic brand and the fact that it's turned out as well as it has, I think they could have got away with almost charging full price for this thing. But no, at least in terms of what I paid for it was like £15, 5, where like games are like either 49 or 59 here. So that's it's a sliver of cost of a normal game. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to playing it. I've heard nothing but good things, but you will be able to hear my thoughts on it this time next week. And with that, let's jump into some Nintendo news. And the news! There we go. That's our new news sound. The first piece of news on the agenda is Nintendo's going to be doing a special PAX panel. PAX West 2017. They've not really revealed what that will be detailing. So let's speculate, shall we? What could Nintendo possibly have up their sleeves to be talking about in PAX West?
Well,
shortly?
With this, I don't know. With this being in, what was it, September 2nd, and this is going to be an hour-long panel. The obvious guess I could probably say to it is maybe a panel about Super Mario Odyssey's development, because that's so close to its release. That's what I could probably say. But if I'm going to say something as far as special, though, it could be something else, or no, it could be talking about that. It could be talking about as far as Switch development or where they got through it. I mean, usually for some of these panels, I do remember back, was it 2 years ago, they did do a special panel, I think at PAX, unless I'm thinking of a different convention, on Xenoblade Chronicles X, and that was when they announced like the special edition of the game. They showed off different types of art and what their bits of development came in, like where they started and where they kind of came through, and what this idea from the original Xenoblade Chronicles. That's what I'm thinking it's going to be. It's going to be something based on one single game as far as what they got there from development up to now. Kind of like how up to like Breath of the Wild's release, where we got all that concept art up from Link, where he was in a, all dressed like in present day, or he was fighting aliens, one with a little Metroid on there too. So that's where I think we could probably say. And the likely addition could maybe be Super Mario Odyssey, or it could be Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That's another thing. What do you think, Lewis? I mean, it's
well,
yeah.
The great I don't know. The first thing my brain comes to is, and it's probably jumping to conclusions, as we often do on the show, at least as I often do, is just because it's not a named panel, and I feel if it was about the development of a certain game, they would announce that, all right, we're going to be doing a PAX panel. It's going to be about Mario Odyssey, or it's going to be around, the development of whatever. I'm not actually sure how they've handled these things previously. So this could just be the case that, they don't actually reveal these things till like the week before to, build up momentum. So the first thing which comes to mind, if it was deliberately being held back, if there's going to be some sort of surprise, it's something which is that I've been against in the rumor mill, but possibly Smash.
As in a port of it?
Yes.
Okay.
Like, not for yet, as in it would be the port. Like, if it was like, if they were going to do a port, like, time's running out, at least to announce the thing. Because if the year goes by and we've not heard about it, surely we may as well be getting a new Smash Bros. Opposed to a port of the old one at that point. And so I feel like this is I feel the latest they could announce it. And so that's where my brain immediately goes to, just because that would be the most exciting thing and kind of maybe borders on the potential. I doubt it will happen, but it's nice to think these things.
Well, I mean, that kind of leads to a point of like, what will they do in terms of Smash on there? Will they just do a different iteration, or is it just going to be, I don't know, like a straight port, whatever? That would seem, the latter would seem like the easiest kind of option, but I don't know. It's, to me, this is just, it's fun to speculate what this panel could be, whatever. But as far as it's probably not as big as what we think it's going to be. So I mean that's why I was named out the safe choices. But to me, it's just I don't know. It could be anything. It could be anything, but it's one of those things where it's check the expectations.
Definitely, it's always about checking expectations with Nintendo and things which have yet to be revealed.
Hey, it helped for E3, and I was pleasantly surprised what they did.
They've been doing a good job recently of.
Oh, they've been good for me. They've been good for me. I don't care if it's logo reveals or not, whatever.
Very, very true. Next up, though, news from EA around future Switch development. And FIFA is going to take a very important part in this, FIFA 18 at least. And so we've had, we do have a quote here from Executive Vice President of EA, Patrick Soderlund. What I will say is we will appear on any platform where there are consumers and players. We believe that we want to be a part of the Switch and help Nintendo grow that install base. As part of a interview with Edge magazine, they were discussing Switch development and FIFA 18. And this shouldn't be incredibly surprising news, but they will be evaluating the sales of FIFA 18 greatly. And if it does well, we will be seeing more EA games, more particularly more EA Sports games. And obviously, if it does badly, we may not. And so some part of EA's development future for Switch does rely on whether FIFA 18 does well or not.
So, yeah.
So I guess the question here is, like, do we think this is a good barometer here? Is this a good business decision from EA or a bad one? Because, I mean, FIFA franchise worldwide, it does sell. It makes money. So if it doesn't make money on the Switch, should EA just carry on making money elsewhere?
No, it's their own. I mean, they're a company like that. If they feel like something is not selling, like on a specific platform, or they feel like, or they're not going to be making money, yeah, they're going to take it out there. It's just it's this whole song and dance of something like, okay, we're going to support, but we're going to. But it comes out to it just being one game. Obviously, with FIFA 18, obviously this is a custom-built one. Yeah, it's their biggest franchise here. I mean, I know there's going to be people who will say, like, well, what about Madden? Well, yes, in the United States, it's very big, but as far as outside other territories, FIFA is very huge internationally. Of course, that's the one they're going to be focusing on, because if that sells well, yeah, they may take a risk of, like, hey, maybe we'll bring over Madden, or maybe we'll bring over the NHL series, or even more else up to here. So there is those little things to it that comes to it. I mean, look what Capcom's doing. I mean, all we discussed last week about how Resident Evil Revelations 1 and 2. Yeah, it's a bit of a boring port to get on there. And yes, they've appeared on Nintendo platforms before. But it's all dependent on Switch sales going forward. I mean, it's selling well right now, and I really do feel like the true identifier is going to be this holiday season. Because the way it's selling right now is it's good news. It's just, will this kind of steam kind of continue going on, knowing that we're seeing Switches start to pop up more and more in the wild. As far as, like, you know, hey, they're available for online. They're available online mostly that I want updates I get. But in the case of EA, I don't blame them. I really don't. And, you know, as someone who's not a particular fan of FIFA, whatever, but I know plenty of people that are very excited for it. Most notably, the guys over at Nintendo Podcast System. They are very excited to be playing something like this, especially in bars. So there is that.
Yeah.
No, that's my general thoughts.
I do think FIFA will do well on the Switch.
If
and part of my reason... True, to be fair, I don't think it does need to be marketed too much, just because FIFA in itself gets a huge amount of marketing behind it. It'll be on the shelves, I think, will be enough, as silly as that sounds. But correct me if I'm wrong, assuming you're aware, but I don't think, you know, FIFA has had many portable entries. I think it might have had the odd one or two here and there.
You probably had the odd one.
I don't think there's ever
DS.
been like a mainstay.
I think you may have an odd one on the DS.
So,
I'm thinking.
Yeah. So I think there could be, even if it's a niche market, a market at least who will look at FIFA as in proper FIFA on a nice portable system as something which is quite desirable. Even if they're not a current Switch owner, they'll look at it and go, oh, I can buy this machine and it runs, a full FIFA game on the go. Not only do I think it will sell well, I think it will give the Switch a boost in the markets that FIFA does incredibly well at, just because how giant that franchise is. And on the other front, I don't think it's necessarily going to pull players away from the PS4 and the Xbox One version if that's where they're already playing it on. I do think it will do well, just in the sense that the Switch is new. It does have this buzz around it, and it is the hot thing currently. So I can only imagine it's going to do well. And so if it doesn't, that's just going to raise even more questions, and it might just kind of cement those ideas that some third-party developers had, like, oh, games just don't sell on Nintendo systems. We shall see.
Yeah, that's good.
That's why I'm like, I hope it's a good version. Reviews well. I hope people who play it enjoy, and it's a real nice version of this game. We know it doesn't have all the modes, but I hope what it does have, it does well. And then we can use this as a good test. Not just EA, but everyone else can look at it and go, oh, it's failed or it's done incredibly well. What can we learn from this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing where it gets to like, what can we learn from it? But it's the fact that will these games sell on a platform? And that's what EA's that's what EA's kind of banking on to make sure, like, hey, do well. Well, we're going to extend an olive branch more to you. So I don't know how much more I can actually explain to something like this. It's just, again, it's all dependent on sales. But if it also gets on sales and sales not enough and it comes down to power, then that gets a bit of a trickier situation. So, I mean, we already, the best comparison I saw about the Switch, and this was on Retronauts, I almost scoffed at it just thinking the comparison, but I realized it's almost like a Vita, the PlayStation Vita, but if Sony actually gave a damn about it. Like they actually, put some support onto it. That's where I'm seeing to it. So, but also without the proprietary stuff like storage and whatnot and everything else. It's just, this is a more free-form factor. But that was a nice thing. I was like, what? I kind of agree with that. I mean, that really did settle with me pretty well.
Excellent. All right. Next piece of news we have Pokemon Go related. Another legendary is coming to the game. Mewtwo is arriving later this month if he's not already. And so he will be joining the game through the raid system, the new raid system, which was introduced to the game last month. Mm-hmm. And so we don't have any more concrete details around that yet, but Mewtwo will be appearing in raid battles at some point during this month if he hasn't already. And
I was under the impression he was already in there.
But maybe he's already appeared since his article's come out, which was only 2 days ago. But you never know. Things can move fast in the Pokemon Go world.
Oh yes, they can. I mean, it just flies past my head at the point right now as somebody who has not played it. I mean, anytime when I hear people talk about it or when they tweet me about it, it's like, I'm glad you're playing it, but it's like, I don't play Pokemon Go. I don't. I just don't.
Yeah, I've not touched that game in some time. I mean, raid battles sound cool in concept, but the fact that you need so many people makes it more challenging now that the buzz has kind of died down. If it was just a matter of me going back out and start playing again to get a Mewtwo, you could probably push me over that. I think Mewtwo's a pretty cool Pokemon.
Oh, one of my favorites.
Exactly, yeah. It was just a matter of me going out a few evenings and leveling up and such. But having to get a physical team of people together, or maybe it would just be the matter of you would walk up to the location and there would be people gathered. The game can have a funny effect on the the community around you. I'll keep a lookout. If there's anything nearby, I'll check out. I'll just see if it's like, you know, a deserted area, or if there's actually people just gathered playing it already, because that would be fun. Just kind of walking into that. So I'll keep a lookout. Report back. Oh, no, sorry, I think I cut you off there.
No, you're good. Whatever. I was just kind of just wanting to kind of just add that how well this is actually still kind of continuing on, you know, well over a year. Yeah, obviously this time last summer it was a huge phenomenon, but here you still have dedicated players going on to this, and something like this is actually just a little bit more well-rounded and helped out to actually, you know, gain more interest to things like this. Obviously, knowing the response after the whole disaster that was the Pokemon Go Fest in Chicago. And I know we didn't talk about it on the show, but just to briefly say on there, that was insane. I mean, I understand people's right to be upset about that because Niantic just did not test this thing out really well. My only thing as far as the people at the show were kind of throwing stuff on stage, I'm like, you have a right to be mad, just don't throw stuff. That's my only thing I got out of it. But thankfully, though, some people got, you know, compensated. I heard stories of people who spent up closer, like, you know, who lived far away. They spent like upwards of $2,000 on a trip to go there, and then this event doesn't happen. That's to me where I feel like, yeah, those people like that. Just boy, I feel for them. So,
oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, that was me for whatever as far on that. I know we never did talk about that because we were on that break in between episode 99 and 100, and it kind of got lost. So
yeah, hopefully they've learned some valuable lessons for next time. Assuming there will be a next time. Well, they might just rebrand it to be something different. It might have that much of a negative aspect to it already. But yeah, it seems there's a few technical hurdles to overcome, some which may be beyond their control. So best of luck to them. Our next and final piece of news is all arms related. So we've not spoken about arms in a while, and it's only been what,
2 months?
2 months? 2 months since it actually came out.
2 months because it's don't you feel like its release? I know Nintendo wants to get a good steady release of games, especially with the Switch. But do you feel like it was a bit of a odd to actually release it too close to Splatoon 2? Because
it seems strange to say that. Because we're now complaining that these good games are too close to each other.
I know. It's like they're good. I like Splatoon 2 more, and I enjoyed bits of ARMS. It's just, I'm waiting for more content to get to it, but from what I own it, I have no regrets. It's just, wow, once Splatoon 2 came out, it's like, well, see you later, ARMS, I'm done.
Wow. What if there was a new character that comes to ARMS? How would that make you feel? Would that make you pick it up again, start playing?
Yeah, and I know, and this is the basis of this news story we're trying to talk about.
Indeed, it is. And so, no concrete details. So we've had there's been a few updates to ARMS. We've had a more minor one recently, which changed some things with the training mode. And there was a hint of a new character to come. And so we've got, in addition to that, there was a new candy theme level teased from the ARMS Twitter account. And you would have to guess, because so far each stage has been, tied to a particular character, and so maybe the new character is somehow candy themed. That could go in a whole, range of different directions. But it sounds like, that we're having a new ARMS character sooner rather than later, and I imagine we'll have information drop, maybe in the next week or two, about what the characters are going to be and when it's going to drop.
Yeah. Although, and it was mentioned on ARMS Twitter that it is hinting at a candy themed stage. So it's going to be a gingerbread man fighter, isn't it? Complete with gumdrop buttons.
It needs to have the stretchy arms though, so maybe it could be like candy cane arms or something, or
licorice. There you go.
Yeah, so licorice man,
or those little Twizzler pull and peel things. It could probably be that.
Could be a marshmallow man.
Oh dear, is this character going to be a branded character of different types of candy? Oh my. You think they would go that far?
Ooh, that could be interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't rule that out. That seems like the sort of thing that could fit in ARMS somehow.
You just get these
Because
different
they've got the fake brands in there. So why not put a real brand in there?
Bro, and that's the one thing I like about that, whatever. And also, side note, I really want those logos for each of the characters on there that you see to become available for profile logos for the Switch. Because, Splatoon 2 got some, and I just wish ARMS would get that. I just find those really nice. So, but in time they will. Shoot. So, yeah, I do think that we're going to be seeing another character, but there was those people that data mined portion of ARMS, and I believe they had uncovered like the max amount of characters that they could be putting into this is around like 20. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of like code names for characters, and they were able to match them to the existing characters. But yeah, there was extras which made up 20. But yeah, they are quite obscure, so it's not easy to tell what each character would be. But yeah, it sounds like we're gonna have potentially up to 20 characters when thing's done, which is a big jump from where we are now.
Oh, easily on there. I mean, knowing that how little we started with like so far at the beginning, and now this will help as far as the lack of content some people will say to it. But I think probably if you get the right times to release these different characters or these new updates, whether it's like 100 characters or 2, which I think that may be the case in some point where we'll just to get up there, once I wouldn't say Splatoon 2 is not going to die down, but when there's a release window when people want to actually revisit it, I'm sure there's going to be a bit of a drop as far as updates, and that will help out. That will definitely help out with it.
Definitely, and I mean, it's definitely something which would keep the momentum going for the game, especially on like the long term. Like when we talked about, releasing it, close to Splatoon 2, that's a questionable decision. But if the end goal is, every couple of months you release a new character and you do that for the next 2 years, it doesn't really matter so much from that, that first month or so, because in theory, people who have bought the game will at least be logging into it and testing it out for every single character which comes out, because that's significant.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll be hoping for more rather than less, as it were. Keep playing, and because news sites will be reporting on the news of the characters and so on, they will get influx of sales happening at each point they introduce a new character. And so if they keep that going, that is a really smart idea. And although these things are all based on rumor and data from data mining, which isn't it's not facts, like there's going to be 20 characters, but it's possible from what they found that it could be. But yeah, that would be a tremendous amount of support, like basically doubling the roster, the fighting roster on a fighting game for its lifespan with free updates. I don't think that's ever happened before. And if that happens with ARMS, then yeah, we could see it turn from a nice, well, it's selling quite well, to be honest, but from a fairly niche game to a much higher tier franchise.
It's already sold about 1 million copies, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. So it's already doing well. But yeah, if they keep this trend up, it could be something which does, goes to like another level of where you kind of think the ARMS franchise sits amongst, the rest of Nintendo's
1.8 to 1.18 million units in. Yep, that's how far it's sold right now. The last time their last physical report. So.
Yeah, and that's definitely not too bad for not just a new IP, but a fighting game. Recent fighting games in general haven't done too well. And although the Switch is selling well, it doesn't actually have that large of install base currently. Obviously, if you compare them against the other main consoles, its install base is very small currently. It's selling at high frequency, but it's just not been on sale for that long. So yeah, all that together, ARMS has sold really well, and hopefully it will continue to do so.
And I hope it does lead to more exploration as far as IPs. And we've already gotten 2 new IPs based in with multiplayer aspects. Who knows to see what we will see next? Maybe a single player, maybe something that's more single player. That could possibly lead to Nintendo, because it sounds like the whole multiplayer aspect of a new IP just seems a little bit more open for someone to join. as far as something that's just radically new. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it does kind of help into this strategy we're talking about of, the drip feed of content. And I think, obviously, Nintendo's seen a lot of success with this, mainly with the original Splatoon, where they can see that because it gets continuous coverage, that's exactly what you want if you're trying to sell a game. You don't want just have this like big surge of press at your launch and then sites never talk about your game afterwards. Companies, especially like Nintendo, want their games to continuously sell. They don't want to, sinking costs and then just not be sold after the fact. They want to keep their prices high, just carry on selling them for as long as they can. And adding in new content is a good way to do that. So well done them. But yeah, that takes us to the end of our Nintendo news this week. But we still have lots more. We have our super topic. And before we jump into this, so the super topic, if you're not aware, is completely supported by our Patreon backers. And the way it works is on the Patreon, if you do support us from $1 a month or more, you have access to some private posts and forums. And in there, you can suggest topics that we should talk about. And within reason, there's no limits. As long as it's family friendly, you can suggest anything. However, the catch is these go up for a vote, also by the Patreons. And so you obviously need to win the vote as well. Obviously, runners-up can join as well. But if you back us, you can suggest anything you want, whether it's Nintendo related or not. If you think of a crazy idea, think of something fun for us to talk about, or even a theme, like we've got not this week, but the upcoming WoW Championships, where it goes beyond just a simple question or topic and is a structured like quiz show like thing that we will be doing and beyond. So come up with some crazy ideas and post them, and we can have some fun doing them, voting on them, seeing what wins. The topic which won this week.
the way you almost said that, the topic that won, I was like, no, not that one.
Yeah, that Freudian slip there. The topic which won this week, our winner is the Nintendo Voice Dream Game, and this came from Jonathan Cruz. And it is: Reggie comes up to you and tells you his body is ready for you to make him a game from any Nintendo franchise ever. But he can only pick one game from you guys. Each of you must come up with a game you would make, how it would play, and who would be developing it. Any development team is available that's first or third party. Now debate which of you three, two of us today, has the best idea to give to Reggie.
Why does that have to be Reggie?
And there's things up.
Why does that have to be Reggie? It could be Kimishima too, or.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Reggie's fielding these idea. Maybe because none of us can speak Japanese.
Well, we can have Bill Trinan. Well, no, Kimishima apparently speaks pretty well Japanese, but we have Trinan.
But Reggie's got multiple roles. I mean, I'm sure if he hears such a great idea like the one we're going to present today, he could feed that up the chain and get that done. So the example Jonathan gives us is a CCG Animal Crossing game on mobile and Switch with cross-play, cross-saves, made from Blizzard. There would also be physical amiibo cards, I believe they exist, which can be purchased in a blind pack for the Switch version that have a rare chance of getting a character from an outside franchise like Link or Mario.
So he wants to do what's that card game that Blizzard does?
Hearthstone.
So they want to do something like this. Is that what I'm
Nintendo version of that is what Jonathan's pitching basically. With amiibo cards. It actually sounds like a cool idea. And it sounds like an idea which would make a lot of money as well. Unlike the Animal Crossing amiibo cards that they tried to sell with Amiibo Festival and Happy Home Design.
Yeah, whatever. It just man, they are just doing their best to get those things out and about, whatever. I mean, but
yeah.
So Dream Games though. I did have a lot to think about this, but I know we'll be shooting off some ideas back and forth ever. But knowing you being the developer, Lewis,
You want me to go first?
Yeah, what would be yours? I'm interested.
Okay. So yeah, I wanted to preface this. Although this is talking about like us pitching a single game, I thought it'd be more fun to just kind of throw ideas out first before we both land on our single game we're going to challenge each other with. And so the first one which comes to mind for me, it's not the crazy idea, but it's something which hasn't actually been done, and it's something I've been curious about how it would look, how it would play. True 3D Kirby game. And so, like how Mario 64 in Sunshine, you have, open world of sorts, which Mario can run around, you've got open objectives and such. We've not seen that for Kirby. And I think it would be really cool. I think it'd be a cool character. The fact that you can fly around as much as you want. It's not the most challenging of games, so they could really kind of lean into the exploration and the finding secrets and kind of the different layers of the game. Like, so a kid could play the game without any trouble, but someone who's more experienced with the series can, find loads of secrets and do lots of complex maneuvers. Yeah, I think, a true free open world Kirby game would be really cool to see. So the question would come to who would be best to make it. And like the obvious choice would just be HAL. So I don't really want to use HAL. So in that vein, I think it's a tricky one, really. I mean,
I'm trying. I'm having.
It would have to be HAL. Well, that's the thing. It's Kirby.
It would have. I mean, obviously,
it would have to be them.
Well, it'd have to be HAL, but also, I wouldn't mind having somebody like come in and help them do something like that, like as a joint effort. Because
so maybe in that sense, you could have, say, the Mario team, because these are dream games. I mean, Mario team does Mario games, but if the Mario team could work with HAL to make this new 3D Kirby game, I think that would be a great collaboration there, and it's time to see Kirby in 3D. It's not just restricted to 2 dimensions, even if it is like with polygons as well. He needs to explore, go front and back, left and right, up and down. He's the perfect character for it. And the fact that he's got access to all those abilities as well, you can make such use of it in terms of puzzle solving in that sort of big open world as well.
No. But yeah, I think that would be the case of something that Kirby's fundamentals would have to be vastly changed. And this would be something where, all right, it has to extend past the copy ability and the usual gimmicks that we see in each games. Whatever Triple Deluxe, it's going through different backgrounds and foregrounds, and then you have Planet Robot, which is just dealing with Kirby and mechs. So, what would be able to do something different? That's not necessarily a gimmick, but just changes the entire, core concept of Kirby. You could have somebody where it's like it's holding different abilities, but also you're dealing with combat that's in 3 dimensions. So. That it's a matter of making Kirby to move well and smooth, whatever, instead of just in short little spurts. So
yeah, I think the way it would work in this game that I'm envisioning is that because you would have these large environments, I think it would play more into the ideas because obviously, apart from ironically the very original Kirby game, they've all had the copy ability, and so you definitely have that in this game. But I think it would use it more for puzzle solving and environmental puzzle solving. And so when you get that fire ability, you would be able to use it to break through and get to new areas of this single big level. And by using different combinations, like in Kirby 64, you can combine them. You could just get to different areas. But I think it would just be a fun game to just experiment and explore without being too worried about being defeated by enemies. And so it's kind of using those copy abilities more like tools to solve puzzles opposed to just different ways to blast through opponents. Yeah, that would be my pitch for the 3D Kirby game.
For me, okay, I'm going to start the concept or sort of the idea first, but it won't happen now, but this is more of a dream game. this is more of a game I want to see. I mean,
Okay.
but I want another shot at the same style of Metroid Other M, but tweaked. I don't want I don't want D Rockets or Team Ninja involved in this. No. This is I know, but obviously there's different things as far as Sakamoto's script, and obviously I want more people that there's more connection with the localization, so everything's right and changed. But what I want to do though, I want to take that, get rid of all the abhorrent stuff, whether it's like the little bits of the story, how you deal with your own abilities and how you lose them, and of course that whole detective mode board version, whatever, and different controls. What I want to do is, I want to get Rocksteady Games or Studios, and who are famous for obviously for anybody like the Arkham games, and I want to put them at the helm. See,
okay.
I know we're dealing with two different characters as far as like with Samus and then Batman, whereas Batman dealt with like a lot of stealth elements and a lot of kick-assery with the terms of his like battle combat, even though it got a little bit annoying. So I feel like that could be something that I really like to see, but to still put Samus in it's a matter of like, okay, how do you deal with this type of thing, but keep Samus isolated in a place where she's alone? And the reason I chose Rocksteady though is their games, especially the art games, do have a sense of feeling very Metroid-y in terms of like, Batman can't access certain areas or these portions of the map without the right abilities. And knowing it's still a little bit of open world, I really want to try something out for something like this. It could be a very nice little marriage of things. If not, it could be a colossal mess or something like that. But I'd like to see something like that for me, because if there's one thing I really, really liked out of Other M is just how flexible and more agile Samus was in terms of combat. And that's one thing I'm really glad that they're making bring into Samus Returns. Especially with the parry move, like with the parry move, and you just see her just grab Metroids or enemies by the tail, slam them down, do all sorts of things. It's just the usual Banff bounty hunter stuff that I want to see to it. And I know that'd be one I'd really like to see tried out a bit on there. That's just one. I mean that's an idea I feel like I would really like to see do. Obviously that won't happen because we have Samus Returns and then we have Prime 4 coming, but who knows? There could be another Metroid game to plug the cap. It could be another 2D one, but this one not the case. But any objections to that or anything as far as what?
Oh no, definitely have an objection. I think that's a good thing. I think Metroid's a good series, and I not just that obviously, but like in terms of for this topic, like I can think of a bunch of different takes for the Metroid formula, which is good ideas for a dream game. Just because it's such like a revered, I think it's the right term, franchise, and that we've had these vastly different takes on it, which have been successful, like from the Prime games to the 2D entries, and we've had a bunch of different experiments as well in between. So yeah, I think what you're proposing would be a very cool take for Metroid. I would like to see, we know Prime 4 is what's coming next, but I would also like to see whatever face Metroid or whatever shape, the Metroid franchise could take beyond Prime and, 2D side scroller. I would very much like to play the game that you proposed there.
Mm-hmm. No, and and you could do things as far as like Samus is like investigating something, whatever, and that's where little bits as far as the scanning could probably get into like brought in, because that was one thing as I loved in Detective Mode for the Arkham series. It did remind me quite a bit, a lot, whatever, as far as the using visor mode, because that's how the story was essentially told. Yeah. So that could be a bit of a fit in what they do. But you got another one?
Yeah, I do. The next one I've got is something which isn't very Nintendo, but it kind of is and it kind of isn't, and that's Sonic the Hedgehog. Now, we're coming off the heels of Sonic Mania, which admittedly neither of us have played, but we've both heard very good things, and it just looks like a true return to form. And the interesting thing is I've recently, very recently, been re-listening to Console Wars. And I finished listening to it yesterday. And so it's kind of perfect timing because that story, you know, encapsulates perfectly, like, you know, the rise and fall of Sonic. And it's really cool to be able to jump into Mania, having just heard that story. And so the game I want to pitch is kind of related to that, kind of isn't. And it's a real mashup of Nintendo and Sega. And so in order to do this, because as cool as Mania looks, I'm still very dubious about Forces. It may turn out to be a fantastic game, but I wouldn't put money on it at this point. So what I'm proposing is, due to Sonic Team's sketchy record of recent years, at least in terms of 3D Sonics, I think you give development to Nintendo completely for this one game at least. So I'm not entirely sure what the right team is. Like, you would instantly jump to say, oh, it should be the Mario team. But I'm not entirely sure. Maybe it would be Retro Studios. They've done fantastic work with Donkey Kong Country Returns. Even though that's more 2D, and I'm thinking this would be more of a 3D, like, try to nail that 3D Sonic. Get a new development team with a new, you know, fresh pair of eyes to look and go, how should Sonic work in 3D? Maybe it would be Retro. So yeah, I'll pitch Retro for this idea at least to nail it down. Well, I think. Oh, sorry, go on.
I would say, well, if they're able to reinvigorate some more life into the Donkey Kong series, it's definitely out. It's in the realm of trying to do something for that. I mean, but obviously we have Sonic Mania out here, where it's like, could it be? Are you suggesting still 2D or a 3D Sonic?
Nah, see, I'm talking 3D. So yeah, I'm thinking we're both thinking about Retro and Donkey Kong Country and going, oh well, there would be more expertise on the 2D game. I think they would also be the team for the 3D one. I mean, obviously, look at their, you know, their previous games with Prime, so they've obviously got a wide set of skills here, and so I think they could look at the fundamentals of what made Sonic good, how they could fit that into a 3D universe, make it so it encapsulates, you know, but also just good game design, good mechanics. No ridiculous gimmicks, but just, you know, good, good solid gameplay. But yeah, taking a step back and going, all right, what works, what doesn't, anything which doesn't work, let's get it out of here. Let's not be too precious of the things we've had before. But yeah, I think, yeah, a retro Studios Sonic game exclusive for Nintendo would be really awesome. My second Wild Dream game.
Well, next one. This is an interesting one.
Okay.
It deals with sin and punishment. Now, everybody's thinking about, like, oh wow, take treasure off this. No, take treasure off this. No. Yeah, it's like, I want to see what Platinum Games can do with this. Instead of just being okay. I want that. I want the same like great bit of an on-rail shooter portion in there. But I'd really like to see that bit of chaotic hand-to-hand combat action that we could probably see with something like that in close quarters. The little short bursts, whatever. I mean, in between that. Basically, kind of like what we saw with Kid Icarus Uprising, where we have the on-rails portions of the game, and then, of course, you have the on-foot. I'm kind of proposing something around that. Now, Treasure's been known for their very difficult on-rail shooters, and me taking off something that is a franchise that they helped start and basically start up with Nintendo, it sounds kind of like a blasphemous, but to me, I think it could work. What do you say?
It sounds pretty crazy to me, and that's kind of where it would work. So you've got a crazy gameplay idea with kind of how I consider like it's a crazy studio or a studio with crazy ideas. And I say, yeah, I think they'll just take Sin and Punishment to 11, basically, which is crazy to think about in itself. But that's kind of what attracts me to that idea. Yes, that's a match made in heaven, that is.
But no, that's more so I can get onto it. But here it's I don't know. It's to me, I don't want to see Sin and Punishment. I know the series hasn't sold well at all, and I was glad that we got a sequel to that on the Wii, which I adored. But and it's been relegated to just cameo appearances in Smash, especially via like assist trophies. This is something I could probably see that like could maybe do, but I don't know. And I know some people could probably be a little hesitant of it, knowing that what Platinum's did, with their involvement with Star Fox Zero, which obviously I don't think it was necessarily their development that was the case in this one. This was more of a development, like controlled choices, whether you like them or not. And here, we're obviously different. We're dealing with a different beast. So
Okay.
that, I don't know, and we're bouncing ideas back and forth here, whatever, for something like that. But in terms of like a dream game, though, it's hard for me to kind of pinpoint something for me to do with this. But if I, I don't know. Do you think we should probably just like start talking about our official dream games and not just like, oh, what could be good ideas?
Well, it depends. I mean, if you've already got a topper idea, as it were, one which is going to outrank the others, I think now's a good time to suggest it. If not, I feel another round of ideas from both of us, and then if we haven't thought of anything better, we pick between one of the ones we've already got.
That's very well valid on there. I feel like I would do it. I can go another round probably for mine. I would like to see. I think I'm going to go more of an RPG route for this one, but
okay.
I want to have a almost meta commentary style Nintendo RPG with different all-stars that you have in the Nintendo universe, but I don't want it 3D or anything like that. I want it kind of in the style almost of like sprites, and I want to say I want Alpha Dream to do something like this, but I want Square to do this. I want this all. I want to have something of a sort of a Nintendo-styled adventure, but with sprites, high-end, like high detailed sprites, but with different. It's like Smash.
Okay, so is this using an existing IP or is this new?
This is existing IPs. I'm saying we're using Nintendo All Stars, but also.
Oh, okay.
But we can throw in original characters into this. Now that would come. But that would come at the cost of Square maybe owning some of these new characters because they own Geno. That's the reason why we don't see anything like that.
Well, seeing as it's a dream game, I think we can say Nintendo, keeps all new IP rights which come out of it, so they can use it for future games. So just to confirm, what you're proposing is a Nintendo All Stars cast, so like the Super Smash Bros of Japanese RPGs made by Square Enix. Am I right there?
Yeah, you are right. You're right.
All right, that's a strong contender. I assume it's not safe to assume always, but because of Nintendo's track record with RPGs. But would this RPG by Square be story heavy?
I would have to say no. I have to say too. It's basically what we get with the subspace.
There we go.
That's what I say. The subspace and Mystery, whatever, which Square helped out with the writing, even though we didn't see much spoken dialogue. We didn't see barely any spoken dialogue into that. But I want that in a smaller scale to it. I want something that brings the different Nintendo universes together, and you have to bring things like that. Whether you could have certain heroes are turned villainous, or certain villains are now your aid. I want something that brings. It's the same. It's basically what I'm doing is something almost like a Roger Rabbit style type of collaboration where you just. It's like that first time when you saw it and you saw, Bugs Bunny and Mickey Mouse on the screen at the same time. You're like, is this even possible? Wow. But I want something like this a little bit more. Obviously, we see it in Smash, but I want to see it more with a story wrapped around it. I want a bit of humorous bits added into it. I mean, I want. And as far as an RPG system to it, that's a little bit up in the air to what I could probably think. And that's something where it could be either simple or a little bit more overly complicated, or something we had seen probably in Super Mario RPG. But yeah, that's what I want. I want a Nintendo All-Stars RPG, sprite-based, made by Square Enix.
That's a strong contender, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a couple of ideas here, and I think that will be it, and then we can start deciding.
Right.
The first of the two, and I split up into two because there's an overlap between one of my existing ideas. So I didn't want it to be a cop-out and just have that one. But it's a good idea in its own right, at least that's what I think. And it's another game with Sonic in it. That's a bit Sonic heavy.
You're really trying to help the Blue Hedgehog after knowing that Sonic Forces is probably going to be...
and again, it's probably, having led to dozens of hours, listened to dozens of hours of console wars of the last few days. But we need a proper Mario and Sonic game. Not at the Olympics, not just in Smash Bros., but a Nintendo-developed Mario and Sonic game where both characters are at their best doing what they do. We need this to be a true platforming game where the characters feel like they should. They somehow find a way for them to interact in a meaningful way. So make advantage of Sonic's speed, take advantage of Mario's jumping abilities. I think this is a game which has been, it's been destined for so long. And again, probably infused from console wars. But the fact that, the battle was so fierce between the two, between Sega and Nintendo, and then, Sonic came over to Nintendo consoles as well as other consoles, and then eventually did find themselves both in the same games together. But they've never been in a game where they've both been platforming. And especially not in a game where they've both been platforming made by, Nintendo's, A game. And so the studio we've mentioned before, I think this would have to be, the Mario team for this, because we'll be talking about, part of this game is going to be Mario being Mario. That has to feel exact. And so I guess it would have to be a collaboration between Nintendo and Sega, but I feel in terms of the actual development itself, in terms of the actual coding, I want nothing but, the Mario team, nothing but Nintendo's finest on there. Because when they set their minds to do a AAA game comes out of it. Not always with Sonic team. But yeah, I think it would just be great to see. Not only would it be good to play, I think it would be just a good game to have on your shelf and go, look at it, we finally got it. There's the game where Mario and Sonic are together, and it's fantastic. They're both showing their, strengths. So that's the one of my two.
No. That's one in my head that I've been really wanting to do for something like that. When it first started, the Mario and Sonic Olympic Games, you wanted something that further stretched out more. That's to me, and I don't know. It's a matter of combining Sonic's own bit of speed and aesthetics and then what the slower bits of Mario's gameplay. There has to be a hook into it. What they have to do.
I think the hook is the difference in the characters.
Difference in characters, but how about they switch roles? Like, you have to find Mario has to run fast, and has to be platform as hero like that.
The way I'd envision it is that either during a level you'd swap between the characters, or it might just be because I'd envision it more of like a Mario 64 type game. So you would have these larger worlds. Is just when you jump in to do the challenge, you choose between characters, and depending who you are, means whereabouts in the level you can go. There'll be certain places Sonic can go, and certain places Mario can get to. But there would also need to be, I feel, a part where they can, certain moves that they would be able to do together to get even further as well. But yeah, I do have one more idea to bring to the table. And it's a bit of an odd one, a bit of a weird pairing. But I'm thinking a Sakurai game.
All right.
I don't think it's a fighting game. I don't think it's a Kid Icarus game. I think, why not Mega Man? There's a few reasons for this. So, obviously, Mega Man was in the latest Smash Bros. And he was treated very well, like all the third-party characters have been when they've been brought into Smash Bros. And so a lot of attention to detail, a lot of care was done, especially like his Ultra Smash as well, when you see the different forms of Mega Man, and they're all well represented. But just how well just that classic Mega Man design is, and how he feels, how he plays as a character in Smash Bros, I feel gives just enough kind of just understanding of the character, but also I feel more happy with like giving like Mega Man to Sakurai than I would most companies, as it were, because they've not proven it because they had no need to. But yeah, I feel this wouldn't be a direct classic Mega Man. I don't think this would be like a Mega Man 9-10 type situation. I feel it would be a new type of game. So I think it would be some sort of in between like Mega Man Legends and the classic games. So some sort of hybrid there, where it would have the RPG type elements. It would have the sort of story building that Sakurai likes. He seems to really love diving into the backgrounds of characters and the little details. So I think having that sort of story and have that sort of world building would be a good fit for Sakurai. But he's so down with the mechanics as well. So I feel you could bring back in more of the classic action from those original games and find some sort of happy medium there. I think that could be the perfect crazy project for Sakurai to work on after loads of Smash Bros and that weird Kid Icarus stint. And of course, for us, having a great feeling new original Mega Man game which doesn't rely on like the previous series. Or just as good as 9 and 10 were, they did feel a little bit cheap in the sense, oh, we're just doing another one of those. And obviously nothing real else has happened with Mega Man since. And so yeah, I think Sakurai would be a man kind of like how he resurrected Pit and Kid Icarus Uprising, that he could do the same with Mega Man, but keep true to the original intentions of the characters and the game series, which we will still love to this day. And so that's my final dream game choice here. So I guess what we have to do now is pick amongst our own, or I guess if anything last minute does come up, you can lead with one last pitch, but that's all you get. So do you know which game you're going to bring to the table?
I think it's going to be my the licensing nightmares and stuff.
You don't have to worry about licensing nightmares. That's all taken care of in this dream game.
Yeah, I forget. It's the dream. It's the dream for whatever.
Exactly. Yes.
I'm gonna go with my Nintendo All-Star sprite-based RPG by Square Enix.
Whoa, with its epic story. That's a strong contender. So how do I beat that? As cool as I think that Kirby 3D game is, I don't think it beats that. Which is a shame. I'd like to see that game. We've got the Sonic game. I think Mario and Sonic is a close contender. Mega Man. Sakurai could make a fantastic Mega Man game, especially if it was a weird hybrid between Legends and the classic games. But I think in the spirit of dream games, I think it has to be Mario and Sonic.
Yes.
Made by the Mario team. Because if you think of what the games they've made of recent, AAA all the way, perfection from the Mario team. So yeah, seeing Mario and Sonic together in a game of that caliber, I would love to see that happen. So, all right. So how do we battle this out then? So it's the thing, really. So you're kind of bringing to the table a whole collection, all of Nintendo's IPs together in a fantastical Square Enix story.
There's only one way to
RPG spectacular.
Yes.
Oh, well, go on. What's your thinking here?
Cool. Let our listeners on. Okay, obviously we have the patrons decide whatever on there. Let's have everybody on the Twitter account vote on this.
Okay. Okay, so we'll put a poll up on Twitter, and we'll see which game is the best one from the user feedback, and we'll announce the results next week.
Yeah. All right, we like that idea.
All right. Oh, I like that. That's a cool idea.
No, but I like both these ideas. I mean, I feel like that's a better one is we brought together, you know, what we think is the best one to do on there. But this should be very interesting, really, to me. I mean, both of these I'd like to play, even though mine that I put out there, it would be vastly interesting to see what I do. So,
definitely. All right, so you've heard it. That's how we're going to do it. So by the time you hear this, assuming you're not listening live, do check out our Twitter feed. I'll also put a link on the Patreon to the tweet in question with the poll. And vote away. If you think, obviously, Harrison's Square Enix Nintendo All-Star Cast RPG is the best game, vote for that. Or if you think Mario and Sonic coming together by the Mario team is the best, obviously vote for that as well. And so, before we end the show, I just want to do a final call out for people for super topics. Please do suggest some super topics. We don't have any in the bag currently. And so fill up that bag. We need some super topics. And so patreon.com/Nintendo Voice. Check it out. And please do chuck in some super topic suggestions. And so as we do every week, let's get around this, admittedly, for this week, small virtual room and give out any contact details or anything in particular that we would like to plug before the show closes. And so, Harrison, how can people get hold of you, and what have you been up to, like, to tell the world?
Carrier pigeon. That's the only way you can get a hold of me. Oh, no. Well, but all kidding aside, you can reach me on Twitter at @HMilfeld. And if you need to find me, especially to become friends on Switch, you will see my Switch friend code on the top of my pinned to the top of my profile. So I will accept you as quickly as I can.
Is there anything you need to plug this week?
Not at all, but if you want to read my review about Namco Museum, go to check it out at purenintendo.com. We also have a Patreon up there set up as well, and if you want to get physical editions of a Nintendo-made magazine, support our Patreon. We have we have cheaper portions on there to do, and every bit of options you can. So why not support both?
And for myself, if you want to get hold of me, Twitter is your best option. And the name you need on Twitter is Lewvision, and the way you spell that is Leuvsion. And for myself, there is something else I did want to mention, which is I've been dabbling with Let's Plays on the Nintendo Voice YouTube channel. I did some experimentation originally with a Ganon run. I did 2 episodes of that. Both had different types of technical issues, and so I killed that series with a slightly different setup. Well, I've got a new series back, which overall much better quality all round, really. And so off to a good start. There will be more of them, and so slightly different format, which is instead of doing a Ganon run, I'm now going through Master Mode, and to my surprise, it is so much more tricky than normal game. And so the first episode is up on YouTube. So you go to youtube.com/Nintendo Voice. You can watch my first half an hour of Master Mode and watch my confidence drop off a cliff shortly afterwards, as I am unable to defeat a single enemy, and every weapon I have just breaks after doing a 3rd damage. And you can just see my my confusion of how I'm meant to progress through this game. And it's a slightly different setup to the originals. I do have a little webcam view of myself in the corner as well, so you can see the confusion all over my face. It's worked quite well. So do check that out if that's something you're interested in. And that is going to do it for this week's show. And so Thanks if you've been listening on the live chat. Obviously, thanks if you've been listening normally as well. Please do join us next time. And this has been Nintendo Voice. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.